Alright, in the midst of working on some of these lights, and the eyes rather, I just realized when I was putting the wires up here, some of these wires had fallen down, and I'm checking only to find out that there's a crack in the fiberglass right up in there. So I gotta fix the crack. Now can I just leave it alone? Well, yeah, but that's not gonna help it later. See, and these are all the little things. Is it taking a long time? It is. And I admit to it's taking a long time. However, you know, everything is a chore. Like I said before. You know, you want to get something done, you find it, and you find out that, oh shit, the price is going to kill you. So then you say, well, I guess we're not going to do that. We're going to have to try to figure out another way, or get the parts and make something. And then you got to wait for the parts, and then you got to make things. And, you know, an hour here, 2 hours there, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, you know, and you stop for a day because you get tired of it. And when you go back to it, you got to remember where you were and what you did. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, it really is. Now I gotta mix up a little Bondo. Now, the thing is, I'm hoping when I'm done that this is all gonna work. I mean, each piece is working independent. We check that. Now I'm gonna put a little extra hardener in this and really take it to the bank. I don't know if I'm going to have time to even work on it before it hardens, but we'll see. I mean, I really put some hardener in there. I'm going to see if I can get it up there first. And then once I get it up there, I'll see if I can work it into the crack with my hand. And hopefully, my hand doesn't become part of the system. Well, get up there. I got a piece of webbing up there and I got to make sure it stays. So if I have to hold this, I will. That's why I mixed it with a lot of hardener, hoping that it will cure faster. I'll feel it starting to cure because it'll start getting warm and it'll start feeling like putty. Like it's starting to do now. Come a little bit closer. Please, please, please. Close. It's starting to get rubbery on my hand, see what I mean? Once it dries, I can just chip it off my hand. But want to make sure that this is drying up here where I put that mesh. Seems to be. Yeah. See, this would really be nice if I was able to stick it up on end like this, but I can't because all the hardware's up there. Now we'll let that sit for a minute, and then I'll check it, and then we'll see what it looks like. And try it again. Yeah, like I said, it seems like it, but if we go from the beginning, from the very beginning of me picking this thing up, because I actually feel like I've had this a long time, over time. Projects that I work on normally don't take this long. But in the beginning, when I first picked it up, I was told, do what you need to do, buy what you need. Alright. So I start taking it apart, you know, and tracing through things and starting to realize that there's quite a bit wrong with this thing. And then you start looking at the price sheet and, you know, they're ridiculous for a 10, well actually it's about a $22 pump. The company that made this, that wants to sell you their parts, is $134. So they're charging like a $100 profit. Because if I can buy it for $24 and whoever I'm buying it from is making a profit, you follow me? So anyway, I'm finding that, you know, we're getting up into the $800,000-$900,000 bracket, and I haven't even started. Then I started working on the main motherboard to find out, well, it works, and it doesn't want to work, and then it works, and this doesn't work, and that doesn't work. The board can work, but because it's controlling a number of different things, it doesn't want to work. It's not the receiver. I found 2 burnt out capacitors. Well, the capacitors by themselves, not too much of a big deal, but why did they burn out to start with? You know, I don't want to end up replacing parts to find out that they're blowing again and again and again. So you got to research that. There's no actual breakdown schematic, so everything has to be done with an ohm meter, you know, and tracing it through and looking and thinking and, you know, okay, wait a minute, you know, this may do this, this may do that, you know, and then I was put on hold, you know, stop working on it because there's no money. So I stopped working on it, you know, and this was about 3 or 4 months in. And I probably had about 60 or 70 bucks in parts into it at that time. Stopped working on it. So it sat here. 2 weeks later, okay, can you have it ready for open house? You got a $200 budget. Huh. You just took 2 weeks away from me. You know, I was getting ready to just put it back together and give it back to you. But now you want it for open house, so there's a $200 budget. And can I get it, at least get a camera ready? Well, yeah, you know, but I started working on the bodywork. The paint, and first of all, I had to mix the paint. I went to Home Depot and I wanted to use like a topside paint, something that's going to hold up to the elements, and something that's made to work on boats. So, you know, it's an oil base. So I get down there and I looking and I don't see anything other than a white, a dark blue, a black, and I don't even know if there was a red one there or not. But meanwhile, I got a hold of the person working there and I said, can you mix a color? Only in latex. Well, if they can only mix latex, that means, okay, what do I got to do now? You know, so, well, I needed the white, I needed the black, and I got the blue. And between the 3 of them, I came real close. If you weren't looking at another one side to side, you probably wouldn't be able to tell them apart. It's close. But anyway, so that ate up most of it. And then I was talking with Ray about the AuxNet, and he says, well, how's things going with the AuxNet and this and that, and he was on the other night and he didn't notice any activity, and I said, Ray, I says, I am really jammed up with this Coastie thing. I said, so I missed it, which I had. Sorry about that, but I noticed the battery is going dead. So anyway, like I was saying, it just eats up time. And then in the interim of all this, like I was saying, I was talking with Ray, because he called up one day and talking about AuxNet, and I was telling him how I was, working on this thing. I didn't even think about it, blah, 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 blah. And that I was trying to get the voice to work. I called the company to find out a little bit more about it, and the tech support there is like talking to Coastie. No response, And at that point, it got absolutely nowhere. Then I tried talking to Branford's House of Hobbies. Because most of this is just remote stuff, and sometimes you start thinking, maybe you just buy forget the board that sits here and just buy maybe a 7 or 8 channel board, But after talking to them and finding out that the prices of these things are not cheap anymore, and then if you get the board, you're going to still have to get the transmitter, make sure everything's on the same frequency. And because this is so old, the frequencies that it's on, I don't even know if they exist anymore. Because they've changed so many times. And then if that's the case, it's a whole inner swap out. We're doing a complete, heart exchange here, and brain. But meanwhile, I was mentioning it to Ray, and he said, well, let him think about it. So I sent him a couple of pictures of the unit itself, and he got back to me a couple days later and said he found a system on eBay that may work, and it was like $20. Now I had some of the stuff here, so I'm thinking, okay, for $20, if it works, fine. If it doesn't, I'll eat it, So he bought it, and then he came over to see what I was actually doing with it, and he says, well, while you're doing this, he can take that home with him and work on it at home, so we're getting 2 things done at the same time. And I said, well, great, Ray, I really appreciate it, because it did give me more time to finish what I was doing on this end, while he was, screwing around with that on the other end. So that helped out a lot. And once we got it over here, back here again, it was working, but it was working off of a 9-volt battery. Well, that's another problem, because that means that they're going to have to keep going down inside to change the batteries, because it was going to be a pain in the ass. There's not much room to get in and out of here. There's a little bit more room now because I took the radio out, but this is basically the only room that you had. And when you put the door up, the radio was sticking down in there, so you really didn't have any room. I don't even know how they got the battery in and out of there, to be honest with you, because the battery goes down inside here. And with the door on here, with the radio sticking down there, it was a nightmare. And even now, with the battery and everything down there, and this is the only spot you really have to work with, and down in there, that you can't see, is where all the main boards were and everything. And the box and the fuse box and everything was way down in here. Well, how the hell are you going to see it to even change a fuse? And then you got to get to it if you know it's there. And how are you going to get the top off this top off of that box, when you only have so much room here, you couldn't even get back here to get the screws out if you had to, and the fuse box was in here. What a pain. So what I did was I made a battery. I took a 9-volt battery and I took it apart and I made it a 9-volt input, but it was able to plug in like a battery. So you wouldn't have to change it, because it took the 12 and turned it to 9 and we were all set. So you just plug in this dummy battery that has 2 wires coming out of it and hook it up to 12 volts and we're all set. So I got that done, and then I put the fuse box, a newer one, out here with the blade fuses instead of having the glass fuses. And because the glass fuses are fine as long as you can get to them to change them. You know, the blade fuses with the little cap on it here is going to work much, much better. You know, and this is all stuff that just takes time to figure out what you're going to do and how you got to do it. You got more cracks over there. I'm not going to worry about those. So anyway, I don't think that's going to have anything to do with the integrity, so we should be okay. That actually may be an extra stress point, or it was a repair. That might have been a stress point, so they put one on each side. Let me walk around this side to see. Yeah, there's another one on this side. That one's definitely a little bit better than that one. But anyway. So anyway, we get it back from the open house. They were able to at least do some of the photos and things. So that worked out okay. The eyes, we just propped them open. The talking was working on and off only because the battery that's in this unit wasn't right, and the fan was interfering with it because the fan had a problem. The fan on that, the cooling fan. That was making a little noise, hence interfering with the unit that does the voice changing and stuff. So anyway, I got that working, and now the voice changer is over there. And once I get the top on this thing, I can hook that up to see if it's working. It was working, so let's hope that it is working. Like I said, everything here has been working. When we work on it, we test it, and it works. So, and then that module, that is a stereo board amplifier. Well, guess where that was? Under this main board. Yeah, in order to get that off, you got to take all the bolts out, disconnect the plugs, move the board out, and that was bolted to the bottom of it. So even after you move it out, you had to turn it over. Why would you put that under there? Make things accessible. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's where I put it. It's not really doing anything right now, but that's where we have it. So, and if you need to get to the on-off switch, you can. So, that's where we're at this point. And now, what I'm going to do is I'm just waiting for that Bondo to dry a little bit, and I'm going to put a little bit more on there. But this is where you would plug in to charge the battery with the charger. Well, guess what? The charger doesn't work. And even with that not working, the company, if you bought the one from the company, again, we're talking over $100. I think it was like 124. Everything's around that 24, 34, 84, 6,800. It's just crazy. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the opposite side of this plug rather, and I'm going to put one in the trailer. So when this is in the trailer, it could be trickle charging off of the solar panel that's on the roof. This trailer has a solar panel on the roof and a battery on the side, well, up in the front where the tongue is. So I can tie this into that system, so when you unplug it from here, you'll be able to plug it into the spare battery. So you're always going to have a battery on charge, you know. So if you have to change it out, you can. And when you take the older one out, the dead one out, you plug it in and you put the new one in, you know. But at that point, I think that's going to be much better than spending a whole lot of money for another battery charger that you have to worry about looking for AC in order to do anything with it. So, yeah, so now you got to start running, oh, do I have power? Do I have 110 volts? Do I have a way of charging this? Do I have a way of doing that? You know, come on. Let's just slow down here, guys. There's so many different ways we can get power into that thing once we know, and that we do have a solar panel on the roof. I mean, it's not a super duper. It's not going to charge a battery in an overnight, or overnight it would, but it's not going to charge a battery in an hour. It's not quite that quick, but it could be used for a lot of other things. All right. If anything, add another big battery, and then you can use it like a house battery on a boat, and you can put a little inverter in there. So if you need a lightweight 110 volt stuff and you're not drawing tons of amperage off it, but if you have a little fluorescent light or something like that, neon lights, you don't have to worry about the 12 volt and looking for power. You got something there. Alright, if I can get this done, there's a lot that I want to do to that, and whatever I do to that trailer, I can do it in a day, guaranteed, if they want to do it. I'll leave that up to them. But the jack for the charger, I am going to get that in there, because it's, even if they have to just go outside and clip it on the battery, you know, but I'd rather run it right into the system. Alright, let me do what I gotta do here, guys. I gotta find the charger for this thing. Yeah, I do. But anyway, you know, like I say, I'm to a point where I feel like I have to make excuses as to why it's taking so long. But, you know, it's a pain in the ass. And doing it when you're trying to have time to do it with, you know, and not having a lot of money. Yeah, you got money. You know, they gave me an extra $250. I don't even remember. So I do have a few more bucks, which is not a problem. It's just that, you know, big bucks, it'll get done quick. Little bucks, you gotta design everything around it using parts. You know, Ray ordered a couple of 555 chips, which are great for regulating and things like that. Now, the last few months, Ray has been helping out quite a bit over here. Him and Tom came over one day on a Monday, and we were working on getting the new axle into the rear end, which is so we can get the new wheels on it. And again, that was a chore. You know, everything is a chore to do. You know, and it was easier to do that with putting a new axle in than it was to buy 2 new wheels. Because they wanted, the tech support guy that I was talking to, the only one there, I forgot his name. However, he said the wheels were like $130 a piece. And then there was some type of an adapter or a hub or something that was like another 10 or 15. I don't remember for sure. He's just throwing numbers. I don't even know if he knew. But we're going to, for two wheels, they were talking $150 a piece, $300 for the pair, and all they are little tractor wheels. And they weren't even made for what they were doing with it. They just bought these, and you can tell, these are the wheels. You can tell that they drilled them out to kind of make them work. You know, so, and the hub split where the bearings sat. You know, it was just, they weren't rated for the weight. You know, it was just, I don't know. Real pain in the ass. So, the wheels I put on there, I think it was $80. And the axle I had here. So, I got to charge them something for it. But I'm thinking, you know, maybe $20 tops. Not even. I'm thinking a lot less. I got to see what they're going for. But at that point, it's not going to be anywhere near that. Alright, so that's where we're at. Now I gotta mix a little bit more Bondo. Darlene was just out here giving me a little bit of a hand. I don't want her to do much, only because she had fallen a couple of days ago and kind of like bruised up her arm, her shoulder, her back, to where the bruise on the arm was one thing, but what it did was, because she fell on her elbow, so to speak, is that wire going to go up? Yeah, we should be okay. I'm looking at wires here, guys. I got to tie some wires up out of the way. But yeah, so at that point, what had happened was it went around into the back part of her rear muscle. You know, the back lad, not the lad, yeah, right where the shoulder blade meets up with the spine, that little right in there. And then up in the top of the neck, where the shoulder goes into the neck, she had a real pull. She had like a nodule out there, a bump. So she went to a chiropractor friend of ours, and he actually didn't do any snapping. He's not a snapper unless he really has to. He's more of a gentle guy. And then you get a half-hour massage after that with some type of a cream that helps working, and hot towels, and and then cold compresses and stuff like that. So she's doing pretty good today. The last couple of days she's been doing good. She's almost back to normal. But I don't want her to come out here and go to twist the wrong way and trying to get to a wire, or me, bumping into her or something and pushing her arm out of whack again. So, all right, let me think what I'm doing here, guys. See these wires? Well, I can start cutting and lengthening, or I can see if there's enough room. They were there before, so I'm thinking there should be enough room. However, we don't want the eyelids to go open and close and pull a wire when it does it. So I want to make sure, see up there, those are kind of close. So I got to figure out what's going on here, and then try to get to it without taking the full eye assembly apart to get in there. That's where we're at so far. Whoops, get over there. Can you stay there for a minute? No, probably not, because it's not anything there to stick to. I'm seeing it. You are, oh wait a minute. Yeah, that sticks a little bit. Alright, so there's some wire down there. What I'm going to do is see, I think what I might be able to do is take one of these pieces and put some CA glue on it and see if I can stick it. And then I can put a wire tie up in there with it. What I'm thinking anyway, again. We're thinking. Oh, are we all in trouble now? Yeah, so anyway, Ray came over the other day, and he took the bottom piece that was up here. There was a module up here, a board, that operated the servos. Well, for some reason, it wasn't operating the servos anymore. So while I was working on installing all this other stuff, oh, and I put a new light in so that when you, oh, the battery's disconnected. So when you turn it on, now there's enough light to brighten up underneath so you can see what's going on down here. I may put another one up on the top for inside. I don't know yet. The one they had in there, I mean, it was like putting a candle in a square mile black hole. I mean, it was doing nothing at all. So I changed it. But, so he took that board and seen what it was doing and put a small one together that would work the timers on the servos. Otherwise they would be slamming up and